Hey guys, welcome back to District Sports Talk. On this episode, I'm going to be trying to talk about our 2020 free agency signings. I'm going to be grading and evaluating them, telling you guys what I think about them, and what my grade is for it. So as you guys may remember, this year we got a nice Christmas present where Dan Snyder finally got rid of Bruce Allen and the rest of the front office that was causing us trouble. So basically this year, instead of signing players past their prime to contracts to overpay them, we got a bunch of young guys. They're underrated. They're unproven. So we got them on some cheap contracts. 1 year prove it deals. I like a lot of what I'm seeing, but let's get right into it. So first off, we got Ronald Darby on a 1 year, $3 million deal. I like this signing a lot. This is a very cheap deal for a player of Ronald Darby's caliber. Of course, last year he got burned on a lot of routes, and he has well documented issues with tackling people. But before he regressed this last year, he was actually a pretty good cornerback, and we got him for so cheap, and there's no risk because we have him on a 1 year deal. This is a very good free agent signing, since you know that our cornerbacks are not the best in the league right now, and it would probably be a huge liability if we didn't pick up some cornerbacks either in free agency or the draft. So I think I would grade this an A. So next up, we got Cody Latimer, the wide receiver we got from the Giants. They don't have it listed here. I believe he was on a one year deal for a couple $1 million as well. I'm not as big of a fan of this signing because we don't have the best wide receivers, but Cody Latimer sure isn't beating anyone on our active roster as of now. He wasn't very good with the Giants and only got a lot of playing time last year due to injuries on their roster. And not to mention, he had off the field issues, which continued after we signed him when he got arrested about a month ago. So, overall, while it's a low risk deal and we're not losing too much by having him here, I don't think he makes the cut for the final roster, so I would give this a B overall. Next on the list, they listed Jeremy Vujnovic. He's a guard. I don't think he's going to be anything more than a camp body, so I'm not really going to grade this one. I highly doubt he'll make the cut for the final roster, maybe practice squad at most. And up next after that, we have Richard Rodgers. He was a tight end. He played a little bit in Green Bay. He's here on a 1 year deal. I think this is an okay signing. As you all know, we have some problems at tight end. Jeremy Sprinkles, he's not really cutting it. He can't catch balls. So, of course, I would love to have us have a lot of competition at the tight end position. Hopefully, one of our tight ends is going to be able to catch passes and do a little bit of blocking, and we need that very badly right now. So I would say this is a good deal. I would give this signing a B+. So next up we have Peyton Barber, running back. We got him out of Tampa Bay. Now, if you guys were watching Tampa Bay last season, they had very clear issues with running backs. Peyton Barber was, I believe, second on their depth chart. I think it's a good depth signing at 2 years, $3 million. That's very cheap. Unfortunately, I don't think he makes our final roster, and I think maybe if we sustain a lot of injuries, he'll see some playing time. But other than that, I just don't see it happening. So I would give this signing a B, just because I don't think Peyton Barber is very good and he doesn't really address a need on our roster. So after that, of course, we got Cornelius Lucas, 2 years, $6.3 million. I like this signing a lot. We have issues at left tackle ever since Trent Williams had his old debacle where he was holding out, and we got him traded for a 3rd round pick next year and a 5th round pick this year. Cornelius Lucas was an underrated tackle while he was playing on the Bears, and we have him on a cheap deal. If he can play up to that contract, I think this is a steal. If not, we also have Sadiq Charles that we just grabbed in the draft, so hopefully one of them can produce on the field this year. If not, chances are we won't have a great record and we can grab one of the top tackle prospects next year. So I think it's a very good signing. I would give this an A overall. I think this one was a home run. Next up is Logan Thomas. I think this is another great signing. Logan Thomas is clearly, of course, still not the best tight end in the league, but like I said before, we have lots of problems at tight end. I think he's going to end up being our tight end number 1. I believe he's here on a 1 or 2 year deal. They don't have it listed right here, but I think this is a great addition to our roster. He's still making that transition from quarterback to tight end, but I think he can do it. I think he can be productive with us, hopefully. And if not, we can always look towards free agency next year. So I think this is a good signing. Uh, you can't go wrong with tight end depth for the Redskins right now. I would give this an A overall. So after that, we have J.D. McKissick. 2 years, $3.25 million. He's a running back. He was playing in the Lions last year. I think this is a slam dunk. We lost Chris Thompson this year. He's out of here. He was our pass catching running back. And I think J.D. McKissick can show up on third downs. I think this is a very good signing. I think he's going to make our final roster. I'm not sure how many snaps he's going to get, but I think he's kind of a baller for what we had to pay him for. And I think he'll be a great addition to our roster. This one is an A overall. So after that, we have Sean Davis, free safety from the Steelers, 1 year, $5 million deal. I'm not as big of a fan of this one. Sean Davis was not massively productive during his time on the Steelers. I know he's very fast, but I don't think he's a good starting safety, which is what we need. Um, I'm not sure he's that much better than Troy Apke, who we already have on our roster. Um, but at least he's starting caliber. I would have rather seen us get Demarius Randall on a cheap deal, but Sean Davis, he's fine enough. I know Ron Rivera thinks very highly of him, so maybe he'll be very good for us. He'll be a good scheme fit. Maybe I'll give this a B overall. So next up we have Thomas Davis, linebacker. He played in the Chargers last year, and before that he played many years with Coach Ron Rivera in Carolina. I think this is probably our best signing of the whole free agent class. Thomas Davis, he's kind of getting old, but he can still play at a very high level. He's elite at stopping run, and uh, I think he provides this kind of veteran leadership, which our locker room desperately needs. We have a lot of young guys, and we need a little bit of guidance for them. And he's going to help us revamp our culture. So he's a very good signing in multiple different ways, both on and off the field. I would give this one an A+. This is a great signing. So next up, we got Kevin Pierre-Louis. 1 year, $3.45 million deal. I think this is a great signing. We need more help at linebackers. Our linebackers right now, they have a lot of upside, but they're very young. They're very raw. And they're not currently very good in coverage. Kevin Pierre-Louis was supposed to be very underrated in the limited playing time he got on the Bears last year. And if he can produce to the same level or higher here, he could easily be a starter. I think this is a very good signing. Uh, if he's as good as I think he could be, we'll improve a lot in coverage, and our defense will get a lot better. So I think this is a great signing. Not to mention, low risk is 1 year. If he doesn't pan out, we can get him out of here. But if he does, we can extend him. So I think this is an A overall. Next up, we have our hometown savior, Kendall Fuller. He's returning with his Super Bowl ring that he just won in Kansas City. And he's here for 4 years, $40 million. I think this is a good signing. Once again, Coach Rivera is signing players that want to be here and want to work hard. That's going to improve our culture, first off. Second off, I think he can return to what he was a couple of years ago, which was a very strong slot corner. And that'll be a great assistance to our secondary, which otherwise, without Quinton Dunbar, I think we were going to get burned a lot this year. So both Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby, that's some great signings and some good stopgaps to put in our secondary. So I would give this one an A-. I think we may have overpaid him a little bit, but I guess that's kind of the cost of rebuilding our culture, so I'm kind of fine with that. Lastly, we come to Wes Schweitzer, 3 year, $13.5 million deal. This is another guy who is considered underrated. Clearly, we just lost Eric Flowers in free agencies. The Dolphins went ahead, overpaid him, so we had to go get our replacement. Wes Schweitzer, he doesn't seem like he's great, but This is another guy that we signed for cheap, so it's hard to hate it too much. 3 years, I'm not sure I would have signed a deal that's that long, but maybe the coaching staff knows something that we don't, and he'll be great for us. I'll hold out hope for that. But as it stands right now, I would give this about a B plus. I don't think. I think currently Wes Martin is probably going to start over him, but doesn't hurt to have a little bit of depth. So I think overall is a pretty good deal. So yeah, that's a B plus for me. So then after that, we get to some of our own players who are hitting free agency. Brandon Sheriff, we put a franchise tag on him. Good move. He's probably our best O lineman right now. He's a great interior blocker when he's healthy. I agree with this move a lot. We're probably going to end up extending him next year or sometime within this next season. So this was a no-brainer. And of course, some of our guys who left, we have Case Keenum. He went and signed up with the Browns as a backup, kind of as their insurance policy if Baker Mayfield doesn't work out. Good for them. He didn't play too well for us. Same thing with Colt McCoy. He played that one game against the Patriots where he wasn't looking all that great. So I'm not too sad to see these guys go. Plus we got Kyle Allen now who's even cheaper and has more upside. So I think we definitely got better at our quarterback position. Like I mentioned before, we lost Eric Flowers to the Dolphins. He was pretty solid last year when we moved him to guard, but I don't think he was worth 30 million dollars over 3 years. He's definitely not worth that. You know, good on them for getting Eric Flowers, but I'm glad we did not match that praise. And unfortunately, Chris Thompson and Donald Penn are gone. Chris Thompson is kind of sad to see him go. I think he played pretty well when he's here, but I think he won it out, so that's fine. Donald Penn, he's definitely getting up there in age, but I think he was solid enough last year as a stopgap. I would have possibly liked to see him return just because our left tackle situation is so dire right now. But it is what it is. Let's see how our young players at tackle are going to perform and see where we go from there. So, in conclusion, I think we did a pretty good job in free agency. Like I said before, I would have liked to see us get Demarius Randall instead of Sean Davis. But other than that, I don't have too many critiques. I'm very glad that we signed a lot of underrated players for cheap. We're projected to have a lot of cap space in the next year's offseason. So we're actually embarking on a healthy rebuild, which is refreshing to hear as a Redskins fan, as that has not happened for the last decade or more. So I like our direction and where we're headed. I would give our overall free agency signings an A overall. So that's my grade for our free agency class this year. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if there's anything else you wanted me to talk about, anything you want my opinion on. Thanks for watching. Peace.